Hello and welcome to Presentation Skills, lesson number 6. Last time we talked about outlining in PowerPoint and creating a Prezi in preparation for your midterm. Today we're going to talk about Google Slides and some of the keys to the act of presenting so that you can perfect your presentation skills for your final. I apologize ahead of time if there is some background noise. My AC is going because it's really hot. So let's go ahead and get a jump start on Google Slides. I'm going to go to slides.google.com and let me go ahead and switch over to my teacher account so you can kind of get a better idea of what it might look like. Share my screen. All right, so this is Google Slides. You have all of your previously made slides here, and you can start a blank document right here. So I went ahead and clicked blank. I'm going to title it something easy to find. Sorry, my computer is so slow. My really good one just crashed while recording this lesson, so I had to start new. So we get slower computer, but more reliable. All right, so my untitled presentation will be, we are talking about, go away. There we go. All right, so our outline is about keeping calm when nervous. So I'm going to title it, keeping calm when presenting. And add my title here, keeping calm when presenting. And usually in the subtitle, we'll put by and your name. Unlike PowerPoint, Google Slides does not have an immediate design style. It's not going to ask you, do you like this one or do you like that one? It does have themes though, which you can choose before you get too far. A lot of them are pretty professional. I like the bright colors. I'm more of a fun presentation person. Today I feel like the bright colors. Surprise, surprise. And there we are. So I'm going to go ahead and put these side by side. I think you'll be able to see them both. Let's see, can you see both? No, you can only see one. Right? I'm going to try to pull this one away. All right, so you can see my Google slide. You cannot see my outline. Let me try to change that setting real quick for you. Let's share the desktop. Sounds good. Awesome. So now you can see I have my Google Slides presentation and my outline side by side. So I'm going to make a new slide. Where so much more familiar with, new slide, there it is, with PowerPoint. And I can make this go away. So same as in PowerPoint, it doesn't have, as far as I'm aware, Google Slides does not have an outline view. And again, yes, I'm not seeing the outline view. So we have to just plug in from the outline itself. So our first slide is all about understand the why. I can click down here and add some bullet points. Boom. Center of attention, competition, other people better, English skills, new and you haven't done it, social anxiety, question mark. And then I can go ahead and copy paste my link to the TED, slowing, there we go, to the TED Talk that I want to share. And I'm going to erase the formatting on that one so that it looks better. Boom, boom, voila, slide one done. Super simple, it's free. All you need is a Google account. So if you don't have one, you can make one on Google or at Gmail. Your Gmail works for Google Slides and everything. Google Drive, all the suites. So I can also choose let's say, a section header here, and I can say, now we're going to shift into, let's see, the first one was the why, so strategies to manage nerves. Woo! Yay! And then maybe my next section, ooh, I could have a main point slide, the strategies to manage nerves. Let's see, be knowledgeable to kind of summarize the, choose a topic you know, rehearse it, think less, negative self-talk, all of that stuff can kind of be crunched into being knowledgeable of your topic, which is spelled incorrectly. There we go. Extend that out slightly so it's on one line. So be knowledgeable, build confidence, right? It's building confidence. Things like that, super simple. And if I didn't end up liking this theme, maybe I think it's not as professional as I want it to be, then I can, let me make this bigger here. Form, where is it? Theme. And then I can go ahead and just click to change it, and it will switch over to the other defaults in that theme. So same title slide, subtopic, and same main points, but it will look different depending on the theme that you choose. So again, no design slides. So if you want visuals, you're going to have to find those yourself. And you can do things like that by inserting an image. They let you choose from your computer. They let you upload from your camera, a URL, upload from the web. Zoom things out of the way so I can better show you. Insert image. I like to search the web. It's simple, it's easy. Most of the images are not copyright, so you can use them and not get in trouble for it, which is great. So let's search for why. Let's see. Yeah. These are kind of cool. Let's do this one. Understand your why. Why? Oh, this is huge. Make that smaller, put it where I want it. Now I have a fancy image. And I can come over here, strategies, let's insert an image, search the web, strategies. Let's see, I don't see a good, that is the problem with searching the web, is there's not always a good one that meets your needs. That kind of works. Strategies to manage nerves, and then we've got this cool thing that kind of summarizes all the points in a nice cohesive way too. Because we talked about, in terms of teamwork, we talked about having other people listen to your presentation and provide feedback. We talked about planning it. We talked about developing and organizing your outline and all that jazz. So that's kind of how you build a Google Slides. Again, if you don't like that theme, you can click on another one and it will change it. You may have to finagle a little bit, move some things around, because if this is awkward, you might be like, I don't want that picture there anymore. Maybe I want it here. But don't feel like you're stuck in a place. You can totally do whatever you want with this. So that's Google Slides. Super simple, super easy, free tool. If you don't have PowerPoint, if you can't afford Microsoft Office for whatever reason, that's there for you to make it easy for you. In terms of communicating in English better, here is what I want you to focus on for this week. I want you to think about different speaking skills and practices and different listening skills and practices. So I'm just going to talk about all the speaking things first, and then I'll talk about all the listening things next. So first, for speaking, speak in English as often as possible, and not only in class. If you're only speaking English in class, you're only talking about the things our class talks about, you won't be practicing as much as you need to in order to gain that confidence to present in English. Find good English speakers to practice with. Ask your friends, hey, you have better skills than I do, I want to learn more, can you help me? Use grammar rules in your speaking, so if you learn about let's say nouns, then make sure that you are aware as you're speaking what your nouns are. If you learn about the way that we construct our sentences with noun, verb, adjective, noun, adjective, verb, the blue, adjective, noun, verb, the blue ball bounces. Adjective describes a noun, blue, ball is the noun, and bounces is the verb. So make sure that you use that construction, because a lot of languages will swap them. They'll have, like Spanish, for example, will say, the ball blue bounces. So make sure that you use the grammar rules in your speaking as well. Listen to pronunciation of words and then repeat it. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Practice using the correct stress, intonation, and rhythm of English. So I know a lot of languages stress every syllable. Chinese in particular stresses every syllable. English does not. So for example, if I say practice using correct stress, right? So there's a stressed syllable and an unstressed syllable. And it might help you to practice learning about syllables a little bit more too. And then for the last speaking skill, spend at least 30 to 60 minutes, so half an hour to an hour, every day of the week speaking in English. Again, finding that good English speaker friend that you can practice with, that you feel comfortable with. For our listening skills, listen in English as often as possible, not only in class. You can listen to children's books read aloud, you can listen to songs that are sung in English, anything you can find that is in English, absorb it. Listen to activities that you can read at the same time. So if you happen to have an audiobook and the print version, you can listen to the book at the same time as you read. You can find a lot of audiobooks or at least chapters on YouTube, and so you can listen to someone read the book to you while you read along in your book. It's pretty great. Listen to something 3 or 4 times, so don't just listen once because you won't let it stick. In order to really start to absorb the vocabulary, which is the most important part of learning English, you want to listen 3 or 4 times to the same thing. Listen actively, notice what you understand and what you don't understand. Take little notes of your victories, what you got, what you understood, and take little notes of what you didn't understand so you can go back to those and learn them again later. So listening and writing what you hear. And then the last one, spend at least 30 to 60 minutes every day of the week listening to English. So same thing with speaking. The speaking and listening skills line up pretty well. So in order to become a better presenter for any audience, for any class, for any purpose, you have to work on your speaking skills and your listening skills. They go hand in hand. For the last set of sessions I have with you, I'll be talking about some listening and speaking exercises that you can do at home to help you improve those skills. We'll also continue to talk about strategies to stay calm on stage and the different visual tools you can use in your presentation, but a big chunk of presenting is being able to communicate what you want your audience to understand. So I hope to give you some activities and strategies to help improve your communication skills. An example of some listening practice is we're going to do something called, what did we call it? You know what, I don't know if this one has a name, but I'm taking this from a book called Communication Beginnings, an Introductory Listening and Speaking Text for English Language Learners. It's by Della Jean Abrams. It's on the syllabus if you want to check out the entire book. We don't have enough time to do the full book, but we'll do as much as we can together. So we are going to listen to a story from this textbook. The story is about a Japanese student who has moved to the United States to study English. And as you listen, I want you to hear the answers to some questions. So those questions are, number 1, why does Kaori feel shy to speak in her English class? Number 2, why isn't Kaori's English improving? Number 3, what can she do to change her feelings? And number 4, do you understand how Kaori feels? Why or why not? And ideally, you would have a partner to discuss these questions with, which would help you practice your English. So if you can, pause this video and pull someone you know into the room so you can talk with them about it and practice your speaking skills as well. So we're going to listen and think, or if you have a buddy, talk about those 4 questions. Why does Cowrie feel shy to speak in her English class? Why isn't Cowrie's English improving? What can she do to change her feelings? And do you understand how Cowrie feels? Why or why not? So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. And if you want to do this activity on your own, I will show you the shortened link right now. There we are. So here is our short link. You can type bit.ly/ch hyphen 1 capital A1. It is case sensitive, so you do have to have a capital A, lowercase c, lowercase h. So this is the short link if you want to go to this web page and listen on your own. Otherwise, you can listen with us. Oh, it's not showing you the correct one. It's showing you the old outline. Let me get you the correct one. There it is. All right. So here is the link, bit.ly/c h hyphen 1 capital A1. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this up so we can listen and answer those questions. Not too loud.
Chapter 1, Activity 1. Listen about the student below, then answer the discussion questions with a partner. Cowrie is an English learner from Japan. She is in her first semester at a university in the U.S. state of Oregon. She is very excited to be learning English. In class, Cowrie feels a little shy and mostly sits by another Japanese student. Together, they translate words and talk in Japanese during the break. Sometimes her teacher calls her name to answer questions, but otherwise Cowrie doesn't raise her hand or speak much during class. She is afraid of making a mistake when she speaks. On the weekends, Cowrie chats with her family in Japan and watches movies in Japanese on the computer. Cowrie has been in the United States for 2 months now, but she doesn't feel like her speaking and listening skills are improving. She is disappointed.
So if you need to, you can go back and listen to that audio clip again. But again, your questions to think about and to, if you can, talk to someone about are, why does Cowrie feel shy to speak in her English class? Why isn't Cowrie's English improving? What can she do to change her feelings? And last, do you understand how Cowrie feels? Why or why not? So now we're going to listen to another story about Cowrie, and I want you to think about whether she has changed anything about her learning habits. Is she feeling maybe more successful? So listen and answer these questions. Number 1, what are 2 of the changes Cowrie made at school? And why does she feel better now? Number 2, what is the main idea of these 2 stories? So I have another bit.ly if you want to listen on your own. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. It's this one. All right, so it's bit.ly/c h1 hyphen capital A2. Oops, there we go. All right. So we'll listen to this one and answer the questions.
Chapter 1, Activity 2. Listen to the paragraph below, then answer the discussion questions with a partner. Cowrie, an English student from Japan, went to talk with her teacher about her listening and speaking skills. She told her teacher that she didn't feel like she was improving, and that she was having a hard time with her English studies. Her teacher gave her some ideas, and Cowrie tried some of them that week. Instead of sitting by the other Japanese student in her class, Kaori sat by Mohammed, a student from Kuwait. They spoke in English to the whole class, and agreed to be study partners outside of class as well. Kaori also started going to the conversation partners and practiced her English outside of class. In class, Kaori tried raising her hand when the teacher asked questions. Suddenly, Kaori felt like her English was really improving. The changes that she made helped her learn English more quickly and easily.
All right, so again, your questions to answer for that one are, oh, lost my spot, here we go. Your questions are, what are two of the changes Kaori made at school? Why does she feel better now? And what is the main idea of these two stories? Of course, the most important part of learning a language is learning new vocabulary words. Grammar and sentence structure and all of those other strange things will come with time. But the most important thing for you to do is, like Kaori, learning new words so you can figure out how to use them in English. And the best way to learn new words is to practice your listening and speaking skills. So here are some tips for learning vocabulary words. The first one we'll talk about is look at the spelling of the word and listen carefully to how it is pronounced. You can find pronunciation guides at online dictionaries or on YouTube. So for example, dictionary.com, my favorite dictionary, I love the dictionary, has a word of the day and they have a pronunciation guide to go along with it. So you can click on this little speaker and it will teach you how to say it. It also has the syllables broken up. And if it has a hyphenated or bolded, that's a signal of the stress of the syllables. So let's listen to this word.
Singularity.
Singularity. So it stresses this syllable, the other syllables are unstressed. Singularity.
Singularity.
Singularity. So you can also look up other words such as, let's say, I'm going to look up balmy because I see it right here. That's a good word. Balmy. So if you find a word that you don't know, look at the spelling and listen to the word.
Balmy.
Balmy. So we don't really pronounce the L too much. Balmy. So let's listen to it one more time.
Balmy.
Balmy. And there's the bold right there tells you it's stressed on the ba. Like a sheep. Ba. All right. You can find those on YouTube as well, but I think they're easier to find on dictionary.com. It is a little more electronic. A lot of the times on YouTube, you have actual people saying it, but I think dictionary.com is better organized. So use an English dictionary. Tip number 2, use an English dictionary to find the meaning of a new word and the part of speech. Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Knowing the parts of speech of different words is so super duper incredibly helpful because it teaches you how to use that word in a sentence. Verbs tell what something does or what we do. So we use verbs to show actions. Nouns tell what something is, so we use them to say what did the action. We wouldn't say I lamped. We also wouldn't say I lit. We would say I lit the lamp, right? So let's talk about some of those parts of speech real quick. All right, so let me go ahead and show you my handy dandy PowerPoint for, here we are, 4 parts of speech. So knowing the parts of speech, again, will help you use new words correctly. So a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Let me go ahead and switch over to a laser pointer. Wow. Nouns are a person, place, thing, or idea. This is a person, this is a place, this is a thing, and ideas are what you think. So it can be emotions, it can be other sensations like emotions. These are different places, so all of these are nouns. These are different emotions, so all of these are nouns. These are different things. You could have a foot or 2 feet, a mouse or mice, tooth or teeth, fish or fish, sheep or sheep, and goose or geese. And then these are all people over here. So these are all your physical, tangible, or emotional thought process items. These are all things that can take an action, which are your verbs. Verbs are what you do. They are action words, and sometimes it's a little more complicated than that, but we'll stick with that for now. So action verbs are walk, run, ride, sit, stand, fight, laugh, read, play, listen, cry, anything that you can say, I walk, I listen, I present, I think, I cry. Those are all action words, those are all verbs. Some other action words, crawling on the floor, dream. Let's see, buy, if you purchase an item, that's a verb. Adjectives are words that describe a noun. It could be a taste, a color, smell, how it looks, the size, how it feels, how it sounds, how many there are, and what it does. So an easy way to remember that is if you can describe it with your 5 senses, it's an adjective. If you can describe how it looks, how it smells, how it tastes, how it feels, or how it sounds, it's an adjective. And you are describing that noun. So it could be sweet, that's a noun. Orange is a noun. Yummy is a noun. Pretty is a noun. Adjective, I keep saying noun. Sweet, orange, yummy, and pretty are all adjectives that describe the nouns that you can see. So a sweet popsicle, popsicle is the noun. An orange cat, cat is the noun. Orange describes the word cat, so it's an adjective. Tall is an adjective. Soft is an adjective. Quiet is an adjective. Two is an adjective. It describes how many there are. And funny is an adjective. Adverbs are words that describe a verb. It describes other things, but for the purposes of this kind of introductory overall grammar course, we're just going to say it describes a verb. So it can describe how something is done, how often something is done, when something is done, or where something is done. So is it easily, quietly, slowly, all describes how something is done. How often, always, never, once, sometimes. When something is done, after, early, since, today, yesterday. Where something is done, anywhere, here, at home, near, outside, over there. So this says the boy plays the drums loudly, and if we said over there, we would have 2 adverbs. The boy plays the drums loudly is how he plays it, and if we said over there, it's where he plays it. And our last one is prepositions. Prepositions describe the where or when of a noun. So this cute little cat picture describes where the cat is. It's underneath, it's between, well, the bird is between. It's out or close to, in or inside, above, behind, on or in front of. And there are a few more. So our owl shows, oh, it does show under. And we have our next 2 in front of. We have behind, between, around is another one that this one doesn't quite cover. So if you're moving around the way the earth moves around the sun, and moving straight through. All right, so those are our, why can't I stop sharing? There we go. Those are our basic grammar rules. There are more, of course, but for the purposes of just introducing you to the grammar rules, those are the really basic ones. Another thing that we should keep in mind is studying how words are used in context, meaning how it is used in a sentence or a paragraph. And I have a handy dandy video to show you what I mean when I say something like context clues. So let me go ahead and share that PowerPoint again. Here we are. And Voila.
When you're reading and you see a word you've never seen before and you don't really know how to figure.
Turn on the captions.
Hello, readers. You know that feeling when you're reading and you see a word you've never seen before and you don't really know how to figure out what it means? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Strategies for figuring out new words through context. You're always going to be encountering new words. At the time of this recording, I'm 31, and I run into new and confusing words every day. I read a lot, and it's always a fun challenge to run into words like, I don't know, glabrous, or limbed, or nacreous. I know a lot about language, and even I have trouble figuring out what those words mean on their own. So it's important to rely on context, the language that surrounds the word. Let's say you're reading a text and you come across a sentence that has a word in it you don't recognize. Here's a bit from a passage about the famous chimpanzee researcher Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall arrived at Tanzania's Gombe Stream National Park in 1960. She was considered somewhat unconventional among other animal researchers. After all, she had not yet been to college. So let's pause on unconventional. What does that word mean? Well, let me give you some ideas. That's the memory aid I use to keep it straight. Ideas. It stands for inference, definition, example, antonym, synonym. IDEAS, ideas, which are all different kinds of context clues. Every word will have a different context, so you might need to vary your approach. The way this snippet is written, let's try inference first. Then I'll rewrite the sentence a few times to show you the other methods. Okay, the I in ideas, inference. We can draw conclusions from the context. If we don't know what unconventional means, we can take a look at the rest of the sentence or other nearby sentences to figure it out. Being unconventional seems to make Goodall different from other researchers. She hadn't yet been to college, which implies that the rest of them had. That doesn't give us a full answer, but it does tell us that she's different somehow. So I think that unconventional might mean different than what is normal. And because I'm making an inference about this word's meaning, I want to keep an eye out for it in other places to see if I can confirm or revise that working definition later. D, definition. Context clues like these will just give you the definition of the word in question. So a good example of that would be, she was considered somewhat unconventional among other animal researchers. She hadn't been to college yet, and this made her different and unexpected. Different and unexpected is a great definition for the word unconventional. This style of context clue occurs when the author expects a word to be unfamiliar to you and builds in a guide for you right there in the text. The E in ideas stands for example. This is somewhere between inference and definition. If the author describes Goodall as unconventional, they'll go on to talk about something unconventional that Goodall did. She was considered somewhat unconventional among animal researchers. For one thing, she hadn't been to college yet. So this is very similar to that initial sentence, except for the transition phrase, for one thing, which is a way to set up examples. Antonym. An antonym is a word whose meaning is the opposite of another word, like how night is the opposite of day, or how love is the opposite of hate. So if there's an example in the text of what Jane Goodall was not, we can use that to figure out what she was. So let's say the passage said, Goodall was unconventional, she didn't conform, and she wasn't ordinary. There we have two antonyms and our answer. Similarly, synonym just means, right, another word with the same meaning, similar to a definition. Jane Goodall was unconventional. She was a nonconformist. She went against the grain. You can see that I had to rewrite the sentences each time to apply to each context clue strategy, which shows me that you won't find all 5 context clues every time you need to search for a word's meaning. You need to find the approach that makes the most sense in context. See what I did there? And failing that, you can always look up an unfamiliar word in a dictionary. I love to do that. I think that's great. But I also feel a sense of victory when I correctly figure out what a new word means, when I've put it together from context. And maybe if I'm still curious, I look it up later. And then I turn out to be right. And I'm all like, victory at sea! I did it.
So keeping in mind, checking every word in a dictionary does slow you down. So try using context clues to get the idea and move right along from there. So I have a few more vocabulary strategies. We talked about the parts of speech and we talked about finding the context clues. So another thing you can do is quiz yourself on the word. Can you remember the word's meaning and how it's spelled? Can you easily use it in a sentence? I have another PowerPoint slide to kind of show you. Oops, gotta exit the slideshow first to load the next one. There we go. To show you one of my flashcard strategies. It's great for studying things that you need to know in school, but also for learning new words. So without further ado, oh, it's gone. There we go. All right, let me share my screen and voila. Oh, not voila. This is from my English 103 course where we talk in depth about acquiring English and paragraph writing and all those things. And my note card strategy is here. So you can put the word on top and it's part of speech on bottom so that you know how to use it. And this is one side. On the other side, you can put an example if there are any opposite words or antonyms, which you can find in a thesaurus or a dictionary sometimes. If there are any synonyms or similar words, and your logic is just using the word, using either making up your own definition in your own words or putting it into a sentence. So here is a color-coded version of this. I love my color codes. So I chose the word compose, and it is a verb. So the example sentence I came up with was, Marita composed a picture in the sand using a stick, and then her brother ran through it and ruined it. I found some antonyms in the thesaurus, fall apart or disturb. I found some synonyms in the thesaurus, put together, wake up, arrange, write, or create. And then my definition was compose, to arrange something and create something new. So doing it this way will help challenge yourself to really process the word, put it into your own words, really make it a part of your verbal lexicon, your own personal brain dictionary, right? So that you can use it in other situations. So there are some other things you can do. You can write related words on the front side or on the back side. Drawing a picture is great if it's a word that you can do that with. And the pronunciation would be great, especially if you capitalize to show where the stress is. Compose. In English, we have stressed and unstressed syllables. And this one, it's stressed on the second part, compose. So this one, composition is a noun, composed is an adjective. Those are some of the related words. It uses the word differently to make it a different part of speech. So, all right, so those are a few. Review and recycle the new word until you can easily remember it. In other words, use it often. Often, meaning as often as you can. Just keep using it, because if you don't use it, you'll lose it. If you keep using it, you will remember it a lot easier. I've taken a page out of the Communication Beginnings textbook and uploaded it to my Google Drive to help you practice and learn new vocabulary words. You may want to give it a try. The bit.ly address is bit.ly/ch1-A3. I will share my screen so you can see the bit.ly right here. bit.ly/c_h1-big A3. And that will take you here to this PDF page, which you can print or you can write on if you have like a tablet or something to write on for PDFs. The directions say use your dictionary. You can use dictionary.com to find the meaning for the vocabulary words in the box. So important, information, opinion, discuss, response, apply, knowledge, strategy, environment, and success. It also tells you the part of speech. ADJ stands for adjective, N is noun, V is verb, and that's all we have. So adjective, noun, verb. Then write the words from the box next to their definitions below. So here are the definitions. You have to figure out which word means a plan of steps for achieving something, to talk about an idea or subject with someone, and so on and so on. Part 2 is read the questions below, find and underline each vocabulary word in the questions, and then ask your partner the questions. So what kind of environment is good for studying? I'm going back up to my box. Environment is good for studying. What environment is good for studying? There's a couple that might be able to fit. Read the questions below, find and underline each vocabulary word in the question. What kind of environment is good for studying? Environment right there. I was looking for it. What information did you learn in class yesterday? Information. And so on and so on. Then ask your partner the questions. If you have a partner, great. If not, then that's okay. Just ask yourself the questions and go ahead and answer it for yourself. So we're going to transition now to the things that we think about more often when we say presentation skills, that more public speaking aspect of it. There's a common saying in the writing world, reading improves writing. So if you read more, your writing gets better too. And the same is true of presenting or of public speaking. If you listen to speakers, you will become a better speaker too. So let's talk about listening. We're going back to Public Speaking for College and Career by Hamilton Gregory. As you become more aware of the difficulties in the listening process, as you practice listening to speakers and see where you struggle to keep up with them, you will be able to plan presentations better because you'll be thinking about those areas where you need something more too. You'll be able to think about your message and make sure that you are communicating it clearly to your audience just by listening to people speak more often. And you'll also get better English skills, but that's beside the point. We already talked about that a little. So Hamilton Gregory makes an important distinction between hearing and listening. They are not the same thing. Hearing is when your ears pick up the sound, and listening is when you make sense out of what you hear. So listening is a cognitive process. It takes place in your brain. It happens in your mind. Here's an example, right? 10 minutes after a speaker finishes their 10-minute presentation, listeners typically understand and remember about 50% of what a speaker says. So half of what you say will be remembered 10 minutes later by your audience. And that's the ones that are listening actively. The ones who hear you but are not listening won't retain anything because it's just sound going through the air to your ear. 2 days later, the retention drops to 25%. So in terms of business, if you're taking this class to improve your business skills, teaching your employees to listen more effectively can boost your employees' productivity and sales. So let's talk about how we can do that for our businesses and everywhere else in our lives. The first thing you have to do is prepare yourself, because listening is hard work, but retaining the information is even harder. So to prepare yourself physically, to prepare your body, first thing, the most important thing ever in the history of the world is get enough sleep. Pulling an all-nighter can affect you for up to 4 days. So try to stick to a more regular sleep schedule to keep your body in top shape. I know you as an English language learner, if you're in college especially, you have a lot more work to do than others because you have to work harder in English than someone like me who's a native speaker. But don't pull an all-nighter. Get your sleep. It's the best thing you can do for your brain and for your health. Another thing you can do to prepare yourself for especially a long lecture like this one is exercise right before the speech or lecture, especially if you think you'll get sleepy. This can be as simple as taking a quick walk, make it brisk, pump your arms. You don't have to run, but just walk fast. But there's really no need to sweat it out. It's just moving. Get yourself up and moving. You can do a couple jumping jacks. And then there's also preparing yourself intellectually, preparing your mind to actively listen, especially if it's something new or if it's complex or something that you're not familiar with already. Research or read about the subject before you go in to listen to the speaker. Because you've given yourself background information, the lecture or speech or presentation, whatever it is, will be easier to understand and retain the information from. So know that you will use energy listening to this person and be willing to use that energy. There are some situations where you are allowed to sit back and enjoy listening to something, like when you're listening to music. And other times, you do need to put an effort into your listening. If you're going to remember what is being said, you can't let yourself drift off. You have to pay attention, and ideally pay attention the whole time. So there's something called listening analytically or active listening, which is when you are analyzing what is being said to help yourself understand and remember what the speaker is trying to communicate. So you're asking yourself questions like, what's the main idea? If remembering an interesting story that the speaker shared is good, but what does that story mean? How does that story build into what the speaker wants you to understand? So think about the kind of supporting details the speaker uses to support their claims. Every story or statistic or quote or explanation, every visual is used to support the speaker's main idea. Something to ask yourself while you're listening to is, are the supports accurate? Are they up to date? Do they come from solid and reliable resources, or are they hearsay, like, I got this from a blog? Do they actually explain or prove the speaker's main idea? One of the best strategies that I use to listen to speakers is taking notes on what's being said. Studies show that writing notes helps you remember what's being said, but it also helps you stay focused on the speaker. It helps to focus your mind on what is being said and how it's being said. So when taking notes, don't try to write everything the speaker is saying. Just write down the key words or other super important pieces of information, no more, like a bullet point, no more than 6 words. Summarize what is being said is another good strategy. You can do that in your notes when you're done listening. You can put the speaker's words into your own words, and then you have that awesome summary to go back to anytime you need to remember, what did that person say? Oh yeah, I wrote it down. Use whatever note-taking method works for you. You can try 3-column notes, where the left column, I think this is your left, the left column is for the main idea, the middle is for some supporting details, and the right is for questions you have about the information. So keep it all in line. If you have a main idea and a supporting detail and a supporting detail and a supporting detail, then your next main idea way down here with your supporting detail should be matched up. So it's not main idea, supporting detail, main idea, supporting detail, all crumbled up and mixed up. Keep it in line with each other. And then if you have a question, jot it down, but you don't have to have a question for everything. Just write it if you have one. Yeah, so this side is saved for the questions. If the speaker talks too fast or doesn't have information organized in a clear way, which, as we know, outlines help with that, but not everyone writes an outline and not everyone checks the outline before building a presentation. Even I found some outline pieces that could have been switched over to a better place. So it happens, but if a speaker talks too fast or doesn't have information organized in a clear way, you can write 1 short note per line, no more than 6 words, and then go in with a highlighter and mark any key ideas after the lecture. And if you have questions, circle something you have a question about. That way you're actively listening the whole time. You're not hunting and pecking for those keywords while you're listening. Do all that after. The last thing I want to share with you to help you retain information from a speaker to practice your listening skills, remember listening improves your speaking, is to limit the things that distract you before the speaker begins. Turn off your phone, ignore coughing or whispering around you, ignore things left up, maybe posters on the wall by previous speakers, especially if it's not relevant to this speaker. If the speaker never says, "And this poster over here," ignore it. Ignore hunger, ignore headaches. Preferably you would have eaten before and maybe had a Tylenol if you had a headache. Ignore if the seat is uncomfortable. Try not to daydream or worry or otherwise let your mind wander off. There's a lot that goes into listening. But again, it's so important to be able to actively listen to a speaker if you want to improve your speaking skills too. So we will talk about how to be a respectful listener next time. But as a final thought, I wanted to share this super cool character that I saw in a textbook. It is the Chinese character for the active listening. As soon as I can figure out, there it is, how to share my screen. So this is the Chinese character for active listening. I love this because it includes the ear, where we actually listen. It includes the self, our whole body. It includes the eyes and the undivided attention, meaning you are focused just on the speaker. And it also includes the heart, where a lot of our emotional processes and maybe even cognitive processes take place, right? The heart of what's being shared. So with that in mind, thank you for joining me today. Next time we'll continue talking about listening skills, some more strategies on how to improve our English, and so on and so forth to make you the best presenter, to make you the best presenter you can be, to help you build the best presentations you can. See you next time.